welcome to another episode of It's a Learning Life for Real. I'm Tamika, and here on It's a Learning Life for Real, we talk about all things personal and professional growth and development, where I share lessons and insights on how it is that you might grow and improve your skills to become a better version of yourself. Today we're talking mindsets. Are you fixed or growing? As we get started, remember to hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss a video whenever I upload one. And also remember to subscribe to my channel and to leave me a comment so I know what your feedback is about the videos, whether you're finding them helpful and or a topic that you might be interested in that I can perhaps discuss in an upcoming video. So leave me a comment. So what's a mindset? According to best-selling author and psychologist Carol Dweck, a mindset is our way of thinking, the lens through which we see the world, what we believe, what we expect, and how we interpret the world around us. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about a mindset. And she distinguished between two primary types of mindsets. So you have a fixed mindset and you have a growth mindset. And I'm going to explain the difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. So what are the characteristics of a fixed mindset? People who operate with a fixed mindset tend to be inflexible. People with a fixed mindset tend to say, this is how I am, this is my personality, this is the way I was born, and so on and so forth. And even though they get feedback about the things that they may not be doing so well or the things that are in their blind spots, they tend to think that they can't change and the people around them must just work with it because you know that this is how I am. So because you know this is who I am, it's almost as if they make an excuse for who they are, not acknowledging that they have the capacity to change and to improve based on the feedback they've gotten or based on their experiences. They are what we would say when I was growing up or back in Jamaica, they're stuck in their ways, so to speak. And as I talk about how people show up when they're operating from the fixed mindset, you might be thinking about somebody who at work or in your personal life who you think has a fixed mindset in terms of how they either handle challenges, how they make decisions, or how they approach their everyday life. On the other hand, people who are operating from the growth mindset, they are more curious about life and the world. They tend to be open-minded. They have an unquenchable thirst for learning. They're always seeking to understand. They are open to change. They're open to new ideas and perspectives that sometimes challenges their own. And they also use feedback as an opportunity to change, grow, and to improve themselves. So when people are operating with a growth mindset, they are not resistant to change and they're always seeking to learn and to become a better version of themselves. So the biggest difference perhaps between people who operate with a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset is how it is that they interact with the world around them. How often have you seen two children or two individuals who came from the same background, perhaps grew up in the same household, but experienced two totally different outcomes? One tending to stay in place, not moving beyond their original circumstances, while the other stepped out and moved on to become successful and accomplished in life. And the story behind those two persons could probably be traced back to their mindsets, how they saw the world around them, and how they decided that they would respond. People with a fixed mindset tend to see their environment as fixed. So if you grew up, say for instance, like I did, I grew up in rural Jamaica in a very small community, which was a farming community for the most part. And I didn't come from a rich family or a rich background. My guardian worked very, very hard. She was an entrepreneur and she owned her own business. And I learned very early the value of education and hard work. And I saw education as a vehicle out of poverty, as a vehicle for my own individual success. And as such, the approach I took to school was that I was constantly wanting to learn. I was constantly wanting to rise above my situation and not to necessarily conform to that which I was seeing around me in terms of examples, but to become better and or to choose another reality for myself. And I remember there was a time when I was going to high school, when not high school, when I was going to college, and I was literally the only young lady in the community that was going to college, because most of my counterparts after leaving high school had gotten pregnant. And I had decided very early out that there was no way that I was going to not be able to finish school because I had a baby. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with getting pregnant after high school, or that somehow limits your chances or you can't recover from that. It's just that in my community at that time, it was harder for you to make it if it is that you got pregnant, because you were probably coming from an environment where your family was already struggling. So when it is that you got pregnant, that kind of just created a setback in terms of your ability to perhaps continue your education. And I was determined that I was not going to become a teenage mom, having been also a product of a mother who had me as a teenager, and I saw what that hardship created for her in terms of her own life. So I was determined very early on that I did not want the same thing to happen to me. So that mindset of not wanting to repeat perhaps what was the example around me caused me to have a different approach to how it is that I was going to conduct myself and also to approach life. So a couple of things about mindsets that I want to point out. Our mindsets are not permanent. Our mindsets can evolve as we move through the different stages in our life. How you think when you are 24 is different from how you perhaps would approach similar situations when you're 30, 40, or 50. As we change and improve and or grow or mature, our mindsets in some instances might change. And I'm not talking about our fundamental core values that do not change from age to age, stage to stage, or place to place. But in terms of your perspectives and how it is that you operate, your mindsets can change as a result of your growth. So I'm going to share with you 5 tips about how it is that you can develop and or practice a growth mindset. The first tip is to step out of your comfort zone. Recognize that nothing grows in places where we are comfortable. If it is that you are going to practice a growth mindset, you have to be open to change. You have to be open to the discomfort of trying new things. When I started this new YouTube channel, I was pretty nervous about it. I kept thinking to myself, will anybody want to listen? Will it make sense to anybody? And so on and so forth. I don't know anything about YouTube, and I had a lot of self-limiting thoughts that could have crippled or caused me to not step out and try something that was new. And even though it was new, and you can go back to my very first video to see how poor it was, I decided I was just gonna start anyway, because sometimes trying something new, stepping outside of your comfort zone is what is required when you're operating from a growth mindset. And as you do that, you also have to be willing to give grace to people who are also trying things that are new and stepping outside of their comfort zone, and offer them the help and support that they may need as they make the transition. So shout out to all of you who watched my very first video and are still here supporting me, and so on and so forth. So the second tip to practice a growth mindset is to practice resilience. In my last video, I spoke about overcoming adversity and the fact that each of us have had to walk through or deal with hardships and challenges in both our personal and professional life. So with the growth mindset actually helps you to practice resilience, because remember, resilience is about getting up when it is that we fall back. It's bouncing back over and over again. So regardless of the hardship, regardless of the setback, it's having the perseverance and the strength to say, I'm not going to give up, I'm not going to quit, I'm going to push through. I may have failed the last time, I didn't do as well as I thought or hoped I would, but I'm not going to give up. So that spirit of resilience is channeled by how it is that you think and how it is that you approach your failures. So like I said, if you've ever failed at anything, practicing resilience looks like you choosing to have the mindset that you're going to push through, you're going to be hopeful, you are going to try again, you are not going to give up. So that's what resilience looks like. Bouncing back after hardship, after adversity. After one pot of boiling water, it's you still trying to be a coffee bean. Don't know what I'm talking about? Go check out the last video I did about overcoming adversity. So the third tip on how it is that you might want to become or practice a growth mindset is to monitor your triggers. Now, all of us know the things that trigger us, that cause us to react emotionally, to set us off, basically. And practicing a growth mindset will require that you understand and know what your triggers are. So for instance, when you get feedback, how do you normally respond? Do you tend to get angry? Do you tend to get defensive? Do you tend to dismiss it? Do you get emotional? Or are you more likely to take some time to sit with the feedback that you got, however uncomfortable, and to ask yourself, what might I learn from this? How can I improve? How can I change and be better? Or are you more likely to walk away and feel resentful of the person who delivered the feedback? If you are practicing a growth mindset, it means that regardless of whoever gave you the feedback, you may not like that person, you may not think they have any credibility, you might think, who are they to give me feedback, and so on and so forth. In spite of all of that, whenever you get feedback, consider feedback a gift. So what's your mindset towards feedback? Do you consider it critical and negative, which would be a fixed mindset? Or do you see feedback as a gift, as something that you can learn and grow and develop from? If you're using that approach, then you are using a growth mindset. Perhaps the biggest and most important, and this is just my favorite tip when it comes down to practicing a growth mindset, it's to notice your self-talk. Self-talk, people, it's a big deal. Most of us have automatic negative thoughts where we speak negatively to ourselves about ourselves. We talk ourselves out of opportunities. We talk ourselves out of trying anything new. We tell ourselves that we're not bright enough, we're not smart enough, we're not good enough, or we doubt ourselves. If it is that you're going to practice a growth mindset, you have to be able to catch those automatic negative thoughts. Recognize the moments when it is that you're thinking something that's negative and you want to catch that automatic negative thoughts. I call them ants for sure, ants. I call them ants. And you want to, in fact, I'm going to post a link in the description about an article about automatic negative thoughts that I wrote a couple months back. But you want to catch those automatic negative thoughts. And just the same way, if you had an ant, crawling on your counter or your floor, you would immediately kill the ants and get rid of it. It's the same thing you want to do when you find those automatic negative thoughts coming into your head. You want to catch the ants and you want to kill the ants. And the way that you kill the ants in your head is when you notice the thought telling you that you're not good enough, telling you that you don't have what you need, telling you that nobody's going to watch your YouTube channel. You want to challenge it. You want to challenge the thought. You want to ask yourself, but is that really true, Tamika? Or ask yourself, is it really true? Because sometimes we tell ourselves stories and the stories aren't true, but they're driven from fear and they're driven from insecurity. So if you're practicing a growth mindset, what you want to do is to catch those automatic negative thoughts. You want to notice when it is that you're speaking negatively about yourself, to yourself, even when you're speaking negatively about others, when you're judging others. You want to recognize that that's what you're doing, and you want to make a conscious effort to stop it, to change how you speak to yourself, about yourself, and also to change how you think about others. And the fifth and final way that you can practice a growth mindset is to not dwell on your setbacks, your failures, and your mistakes. The truth of the matter is we've all made mistakes at some point in our lives, whether it was personal or professional. There are things that we've done that we're not proud of, but at the same time, it's not dwelling on the setbacks. You want to think, how can I learn from that experience? How will I use this experience to move forward and to change how it is that I operate, change my habits and my patterns? What will I do differently as a result of this experience, and so on and so forth. So those are some tips for how you might want to practice a growth mindset. So I hope the next time that you are faced with making a decision, solving a problem, or you're interacting with somebody, that you ask yourself, am I operating from a fixed or growth mindset? And you take the opportunity to challenge yourself to make sure more often than not that you are operating from a perspective that says, I can grow, I can change, I can learn, I can improve. And not only do you see that as a possibility for yourself, but importantly, that you see in others the ability to grow, to change, to improve, and to become better versions of themselves. So until next time, remember, it's a learning life. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and to leave me a comment so I can know how you're liking the videos, and also to let me know any topic that you would like me to share on.